So hello everybody and welcome to the second installment of our data visualization, data literacy series. On the last episode I actually show you this visualization, Cooper hogs population source in Illinois. And I ask you, is there something wrong with it? And obviously you had a lot of comments. So we're going to go through the chart and see if there is something wrong, and in that case, what is it? Okay, so first of all, when reading charts, it's actually very useful to do it in order, in a specific order, in order to not miss anything. So my recommendation is to start always from the source, and you can see the source of these down here. So it is Natural History Survey, and then we have Austin Baird from the Daily Ealing. I guess this is a newspaper, and I take it online. Austin seems to be a designer. Not sure if it's him though, but I think he's a designer anyway. Probably the newspaper hired him to do this job. So, not too much information about the source. Let's go through the chart. So the next thing you should do when reading charts is to actually take a look at the title, and it says Cooper hogs population source. This is a type of, this is a bird, it's a hawk, so it is a specific type of it, which is called Coopers. And they say that the population source, this is going to be key in our analysis later. Source basically means like it increased dramatically. Okay. Then it has a subtitle, which I think is really neat, that it gives more context to the reader in case they're not so good to read in charts. So it says, there was a data combination of students and pesticide that caused the hog population from the entire 20th century to be very, very low. And it says now that it has come back in the last few years, the strong comeback. They try to again say here that huge increase. Okay. Then if we go to the x-axis, it goes from 1975 to 2013. And here it goes from 0 to 0.06. Line chart to show growth is a good visualization type out, in my opinion. And I think the bird looks quite cute, so you can actually see. I mean, if you're looking at the newspaper, you see these, you will read the title and you will say, okay, the population has dramatically increased, and then you see a line chart pointing upwards with a bird. I think if you are not very interested in the article itself, you would probably remember that and move on. So you see this increase. If somebody talks to you about it, and you will say, oh, increased because I read it in a newspaper. But there is more to it when you actually pay attention to how the chart was designed. Okay, so it says here that the population has been low from the 20th century, but as you can see here, they don't show the entire date range. So we have no idea. We just can see the last 25 years of the 27th century, which is to leave us a little bit hanging about what happened before. How low was the population before? When did it start decreasing? When did shooting pesticides start to be a problem for hogs? Or when they were introduced? So there is a lot of missing information here. If you look at the Y chart, that's where the biggest problem lies. It is that, number one, it doesn't tell you what it is. Obviously, it's not 0.06 birds. You can't do that. So we need to assume that it's something else, probably growth rate. But when you are putting growth rates, you need to give an absolute number. Just for let us know, decide how big was the increase. Was it 6 birds or 600? It's a huge difference, right? So we really don't know. We don't know how much it grew. We can see actually from the chart, if you say, they said the last few years in here. So if we pick the last few years as the last 10 years, there's been a dramatic increase. If you look at the chart, it's a dramatic increase. But in actual numbers, we just don't know. There is no way that by looking at this chart, we can actually understand if the claim that they made on the title is correct or not. Because if it is an increase of 6 birds, that is not dramatic. Well, maybe from 1 to 6 it is a dramatic increase, but it's not increase enough. I actually went online and tried to find the actual numbers for the Cooper hawks population, birth population. I couldn't find them anywhere. All the charts that I found were similar to these, and there were no absolute numbers anywhere. I couldn't spend a lot of time doing this, obviously, so maybe you can give it a go and see if you can find something, but I couldn't find, for the love of me, any absolute numbers telling you this. Another thing that is unfortunate about this chart is that it is talking about that the reason why the decrease happened, it was because of shooting some pesticides. And there is no reference in here as to shooting some pesticides now. What is the situation now? So here's the thing, before we wrap up this, I want to show you a chart where they did things correctly. Let me show you. This is the number of bisons, American bison population in Yellowstone National Park between 1902 and 1915. You can see here that the x-axis actually represents the days that they are talking about. On the y-axis, it says very clear the number of bisons, but also they have it in absolute numbers. So it went from around 32, the actual numbers are on the article, to 100, 250 something, I think it was, like 252. And then they give you the R-square. I mean, you don't really need to, if you don't know what R-square is, it doesn't matter. You can actually see the years, see the number of bisons, and see the increase, and it is very, very clear what it's trying to say. And it is even spelling it out in here. So it is a wonderful way to do the same thing, or the right way. Now, if we go to our chart, I think what they should have done, so if we go to this chart, what they should have done here, they should have included the entire range that they are talking about, right? So you can actually see the decrease and then the increase, and then you could see, how does that chart look like? Does it look like these, or has it look like these? Or, I mean, it has an effect of what the story actually is. Here I wouldn't put growth rates, I would put again absolute numbers, so you can actually see, and then maybe you can put the growth rate in here, right? If you're talking about shooting some pesticides, you need to somehow refer into the chart. So one of you actually went and looked at, they said DDT actually stopped in Illinois around the 70s. So you can hear, you could write a line and say stopped DDT. Would have helped a lot. And then if you're talking about shootings, you could see like the number of shootings have gone like this, in like a light gray color. And then you will still have this picture in here, and then you can say, oh, look at this, they stopped the pesticides, the number of shootings decreased, and then you see the hawk population increase, and it increased by 100 birds or 1,000 or whatever it is. And that would have made the story clear. The way this was presented, because it's missing so much information, it leaves us just guessing. Okay, so the next chart is actually a story from the New York Times, and I will link to the story on the next video. I want you to read it in advance. But it is like this. The governor has decided to reopen indoor dining restaurants despite the situation with the corona, and in order to, so one of the reasons why he did that, despite what health officials said, is that test positive rates for New York City have fallen by 30%, and he shows the chart that you see. So now just let me know what you think is wrong with the chart. Now this is going to be very, very difficult, but this is a very good example of how charts can lie without lying. So this is like, my hint to you would be like, I didn't lie, I just didn't tell you. And I know that it's going to be tough for you to identify it, but just give it a go. It is actually quite fascinating what the story could be. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am, and learning a lot as much as I am doing. So please continue sharing, and I will see you again on Friday with the DAX Fridays for sure. Otherwise it would be tomorrow maybe, because probably it's going to be a power week. We'll see. Either way, see you soon. Bye.